Right, so here we go. And we're live in 3, 2. And welcome, everybody. This is Rob Mullins here. Welcome to another episode of the Planetmullins Podcast. It's great to have the lovely and talented comedian, actress,
writer,
musician,
yes,
yoga person. Yes. And star darling of the Venice Beach Main Street scene, I learned recently when walking down the street with you, and you had to stop and bless about every other third person because they're like, Kristi. Anyway, I have the comedian Kristi McHugh as my guest tonight, everybody. Hi, Kristi.
Hello, everybody. How are you, Rob?
I'm doing great, man. And that leads me to why I'm doing great, which is because I love playing the piano, and you can get yourself a brand new piano at Pierre's Fine Pianos. Pierre's Fine Pianos is sponsoring the show tonight. They're at 11039 West Pico. Of course, because it's the COVID era, we have to make an appointment to come in to see these pianos, but he's got Fazioli, Yamaha, Kawai, Steinways, which are just awesome, and digital pianos as well. So if you go to the website, www.pierresfinepianos.com, you can make an appointment to go see one of the best pianos. And Herbie Hancock's piano is there on the stage too, in case you needed to know that. Because I know you're a musician as well, but we'll get into that. So Pierre's Fine Pianos is our sponsor. So back to you, Kristi. I'm looking at your bio here, and wow, you've done some pretty cool stuff. Like you've shared the stage with Roseanne Barr, and I bet there wasn't much stage left once she got on there.
Way back in the day.
And then you opened for Tim Allen and David Spade and Rich Little, and it says here that you've performed on a children's telethon and also for 300 inmates at a state penitentiary, which must have really been like a challenge for them, because they don't get to,
that's right. That was
because
fantastic.
they don't get to see. I mean, they wouldn't see like a girl that looks better than Farrah Fawcett in her prime very often live. I'm sure they're getting out the saws, trying to cut the bars down and all that. But, recently you've been touring.
It was crazy.
What was that like? Yeah, what was that like?
At the Snake River Penitentiary in Oregon.
Snake River, baby.
Are we talking about that gig?
Yeah.
That's right. So I go, it's in a gymnasium. We get there early, and the warden is this tall woman. Do you remember that TV show Coach?
Yeah.
And that woman, that tall, so she looked just like her, same stature. So she's like, do you want to, take a look around before you perform? I'm like, well, of course. So we went all around. I mean, some of these guys, they had this woodworking room where they made these beautiful tables, these beautiful chairs, and just it was pretty amazing, like all the woodworking these guys could do, because they got all day to do absolutely nothing. So and then we got to meet some of the guys, and one man was called Horseman, and I was like, well, that's interesting. Why is he called Horseman? Well, he was caught. He's a beautiful woodworker, and he built this stool at his home before he went into the penitentiary that was just the height so he could get behind his horse. And well, that wasn't allowed in those parts of the country.
And we go,
Horseman.
We go right down the rabbit hole, and it's no longer a family show.
I'm just telling you the story. So we go in, and I'm performing in this gymnasium, and it's all, they said when you get there, wear any color but chambray blue, right? Because if something goes down, you don't be mistaken for one of the inmates. So I'm wearing yellow and purple and neon. And I had 2 guards on the side of me. There were 2 guards at the doors. And I got to tell you, I was probably about, I don't know, 2 years into doing comedy. And they were so appreciative of live entertainment that I almost got a standing ovation. They all stood up to clap, and the guards said, sit down, and they had to sit down. But it was close. I almost got a standing O. But yeah, that was great. That was a lot of fun.
Wow. Well, you know,
Felt very safe.
That's great because, you know, I had a chance to hang out with you a little bit recently in Venice. And what I thought was interesting is that during this COVID time, which has just been, as you know, like what's been happening in Venice has been insane. I mean, the boarding up of the town and the riots and the looting and all that. And then now it's been the fires, and it's really, you know, everything in life is really tumultuous and uncertain. And then when I talk to you, you're just like, well, cool, man. So I got to go to the airport because I'm headlining in Florida this weekend. So I'll see you. And you just are like kind of plowing through this. How do you manage to do that? I know a lot of people.
Gotta find work. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they're doing a lot of social distancing, and Florida, I mean, that's, you know, every part of the country is different. A lot of social distancing. A lot of the clubs can occupy 30%. They're at 30%. So, yeah, it's you know, there were probably 2 people on my flight the first time I went out. That was fine. So, just being safe. I get tested all the time and mask it up. But honestly, I haven't probably I've not touched someone's hand, done a handshake since like 2002. So I've been always a little bit of a germaphobe. So I'm like, finally, everybody else is on board.
Wow. Since 2002. That's a while. Yeah. So,
yeah.
What was the last place that you played at, and how was that?
It was in Florida a couple weeks ago, and it was great. It was packed. It was in Fort Myers.
Okay.
And yeah, I worked with Richie Minervini, who you've seen him on tons of King of Queens shows, and he's done a lot of the Billy Madison movies, and yeah, he's great. He's hysterical. It's a she said, he said show. So
cool.
He's owned his own club in New York, and we've done that tour, and we're gonna be back out there in November and working on a movie together, and yeah, it was great.
So I know the air in Venice the last couple of weeks has been pretty bad. I mean, is it starting to clear up? Because you know,
There's been an onshore. Finally, I can see the sun. Yeah, the wind currents changed, so it's been a lot better. Can breathe. But it's difficult still to play volleyball out there because the needles in the sand in Venice Beach. Actually, it helps you. It makes you jump higher. But
yeah, before we came on, I just got this email alert from somebody there. You know, because the big Penmar fire on Rose, which is right down the street from you. Did you?
Yes.
Know? Yeah. So here's this lady on next door, and she's got a picture of this bicycle, and it's at that camp where the meth labs blew up the other night. And here's what she says, and it's a really nice bike. It's like a $5,000 bike, and she's got a picture of it. She says, I watched this guy steal this bike from Oceanfront Walk and drive it all the way to here. And, you know, if it's your bike, and the picture has the guy and the bike, and the guy looks like if you got within 20 feet of him, you're going to die of something, whether it's violence or hep C, or he's going to spit on you, or he's going to light you on fire or shoot you. And she says, so here's the bike, just go over and get it. I'm thinking to myself, you first, lady.
Yeah. You go ahead and keep that bicycle. I'll keep my life. How about that?
You know, it's like that. So, yeah. So tell me about this movie thing that you're working on. Because last time we talked, you were, you know, going to Glendale and doing these sit down things in some sort of a project room, and it looked all official. Is that the same thing that you're still working on?
Oh, I was doing that for a voiceover reel for some commercial stuff. That was pre-COVID. Yeah, it's a really great concept. The guy has it's two different producers, and I just got bounced up to co-producer. So we're it's been greenlit with Netflix, and so it's very much it's a murder mystery. But yeah, basically it's a senator who ends up being this murdered, and it's very funny. It's great. I don't know how to explain it really.
Okay, well, we'll just.
I should have talked to the promo person before I tried to explain what it was.
No, it's fine. I'll just check back with you when it gets closer to, the pilot getting shot and all of that. But that's exciting.
Okay, group.
And congratulations.
Yeah.
You're from a small town. Let's see if I can say this right. Is that Okoboji, Iowa? Is that where you're from?
Oh, that's right. Okoboji.
And then, so and it says you're from a large family. So basically, you're this, like, I'm trying to picture back, how you got started. You're this young girl in Okoboji, and one day you wake up and you say, wow, man, I think I'm funny, or I just want to go try Hollywood, or what? Like, how the heck did that happen?
No, I wanted to go to law school, and so I went to school to Creighton University in Omaha. Yeah. And then they were filming a movie there. The whole movie crew was staying at a hotel where I was schlepping drinks while I was going to college. And I got to know them, and I mean, they'd been staying there for months, and I had time before I went on to go for my grad school, and they said, well, why don't you just come and stay with, or sublet from us in LA. So, you got 3 months off. I'm like, oh my God, I've never been out of the Midwest. Why not? So I packed up my little Grand Am. I had $600. I had no credit cards. I had $600, and I came with my friend Andy, and she and I drove my little red Grand Am out here, and I found out you have to buy water. So here one day, Andy leaves. She's like, I'm out of here. She took a flight back. She couldn't handle it. And I stayed for a month, and then I was like, you know what? It's only been 30 days. Like, I can always go back. I can go to school anytime. So sure. I started taking some acting classes, and this kid in my acting class said, you're the funniest girl in the class. Will you come and do a 3-minute stand-up bit with me at the Ice House in Pasadena? And I'm like, what? I don't do comedy. He's like, come on, it's 3 minutes. What do you got to lose? So right. I went out there, and I never stopped since then. I loved it. And then cut to 3 years later, I was on a flight. I was leaving out of Burbank to go up to Sacramento to perform. And I go up to the American Airlines counter, and there he is behind the counter working for American Airlines. He's like, what are you doing here? I go, it's all your fault. So yeah, it was kind of interesting. Wow. How the paths cross again.
Oh yeah, well, airports are a really interesting place to run into people.
It's been a ride.
For sure, man. I mean, I've seen and had such great times in airports around the world, like touring, doing these world tours with bands and stuff. And you just bump into these people, and you're like,
oh yeah, I'm sure.
Where the heck are you going? Like a few years ago, we were in the Moscow airport, and I was walking down this corridor, and this guy comes up to me and he goes, you're Rob Mullins. And I'm in Russia, so I'm wanting to just go, maybe I'm Rob Mullins and maybe I'm not. And he says, no, man, it's Mike. He says, no, man, it's Mike O'Neill from George Benson's band. And I'm like, Michael O'Neill, great. And he says, what are you doing here? I said, I'm here with Hubert Laws. And he says, well, I'm here with George, and we're in VIP upstairs on the 3rd floor. George would love to see Hubert, because those two guys are like jazz icons from the 70s.
Nice.
Yeah, they went to school together, way back, and they both lived in New York and this and that. So all of a sudden we're grabbing like Hubert's whole band and going up to this VIP lounge, and George is in there with his whole band, because those guys are getting ready to fly to Saudi Arabia. And we're just getting ready. We're just coming into town to do this concert. So The next thing I know, man, I'm sitting in VIP with George Benson, the amazing guitar player, and they've got 100-year-old Grand Marnier bottles out, you know, which is like $200 a shot.
Oh my God.
And I'm just going, yeah, man, I've made it to the big time now. I'm in VIP with George Benson, you know, so isn't it great how these opportunities.
Let me ask you something.
Yeah.
What do you converse with about somebody like that? Like, do you ever get starstruck?
Well, you know,
like I have on my list, know what to even say if I met them.
Who's that?
I have a couple of people on my list. I wouldn't even know what to say if I ever got to meet them. But I mean, was it all fluid, like just rubbing elbows with these guys?
It really was, because see, I'm Hubert's keyboard player already. And, you know, we've got major celebrities coming all the time to the gigs. Wherever we go in the world, there's always somebody super famous. I mean, even when we were in West Africa, in Luanda, the president of the frickin' country was there, and he had to wait outside Hubert's door until Hubert was ready to speak to him. It's like that, you know. And
wow.
So, but amongst the musicians thing,
crazy.
I know, amongst the musicians thing, it's not as, I don't flip out on that side. The hard part for me was when I was doing Brad Pitt's wedding, and, you know, all of those people from Friends were there, and they're all just like standing around and, you know, getting blasted. And
oh my God, you did Brad Pitt's wedding?
Yeah.
You know, I know the guy who officiated it, the judge.
No way. That's so
yeah.
good, man.
It was funny because it was all on the DL. Like he couldn't say who was there. He got a call saying there's a very important wedding that we need you to go do. He didn't get any information, just, you know, flew there, was flown there. He didn't know until he got there.
You know,
that's crazy.
It was crazy on our side of it. It was like a rite of passage kind of a gig, because we had to first off sign all of these documents, and we knew who it was going to be for because there was special music.
Oh, wow.
Really, you know, they had picked this music. They had the H.P. Barnum Choir was going to be there off to the side, and I was going to play piano for that. And that choir is legendary. And then they had these other acts that were amazing, like the Gypsy Kings were in there because Jennifer Aniston is Greek. So that was just like a side thing.
Wow.
It was a side thing. And then Melissa Etheridge is their longtime friend.
Oh, you know what? Wait a minute. You were there for the Jennifer Aniston wedding. He went for the Angelina Jolie wedding.
Oh, mine was the early one that failed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was at
you might get a chance to play at the Jennifer and Brad wedding again.
I know, wouldn't that be
You might get
great?
a chance to play for their second wedding.
I know.
But if they do break up, my God, I don't think we can go through 3 more years of Jen crying if they break up again. Oh my God, was that painful?
Yeah, well, you know, luckily we were just there for that one night. It was at Marcy Carsey's house in Malibu. And it was a really special time and a lot of fun. So I had to go through that being scared of, like, you know, even meeting David Schwimmer was like, wow, you know, and Elizabeth Shue was at that thing, and I've had a crush on her forever, and Courtney Cox and all these people. And so, you know, you can always carry like a stammer card in your wallet of what you're going to say. It's the one paragraph, you know, and just, excuse me, let me get out my stammer card, and you can get your composure. But I would think it would be something that you would have gotten used to by now, because, you know, you hang out with all of these people all the time. So
I have a kind of a funny story. So I was asked to I was performing in Vegas, and they told me that Rich Little was going to be there, and I was like, I thought I was like, why is Rich Little doing comedy? Isn't he like the small black singer? I had no idea who Rich Little was. I thought they were talking about Little Richard. And then he asked me, he came to my show, and everybody they were flipping out that I was just like hanging out in the green room while he was there. And he just was like, well, he just thought it was kind of interesting that I didn't, give him all this allegiance. And he came to my show. Then I'm like, why don't you come check out my show? So he did, and then he asked me to go on a tour with him. That was like the highlight of my career. What an incredible guy! Wow. What about the stories? We flew into this airport in the middle of nowhere in Arizona. We had like a 2-hour drive to go to this beautiful theater. I think it was called the Spencer Theater or something, and in New Mexico. It's New Mexico. Sorry. Anyway. Yeah, 2 hours. And that guy, I could listen to him all day. The stories he had about Reagan and just all the stars that he met, and wow, what a life that guy had or has.
The impersonations are so incredible, and I remember being younger and watching him do Nixon and thinking, well, Nixon isn't that big of a stretch because he kind of looks a little bit like Nixon. But he's one of the funnier of the comics. Now that brings me to this this juncture. Who are your favorite comics that are out there doing it now? Do you have anybody that you really think is killing it right now?
I love Louis C.K. I think he's hysterical. Of course, Jim Gaffigan, hilarious. That guy's great. Rest in peace, Ellen DeGeneres.
Wow. Whoa.
You know who I really loved just as a comedic actress was Lucille Ball. Oh my God. Carol Burnett, Lucille Ball. Oh God. Amazing. Yeah.
Yeah. I used to just fall down howling at Tim Conway on the Carol Burnett show, because he had this way of combining his timing and the visual comedy and the looks on his face where no one on set could keep a straight face or even remember their lines. Remember, there's so many of those things where Carol is there and she's just trying to keep it together. And she's just saying, and Harvey Korman and Lyle Wagner, like Lyle would usually go down first, then it would be Harvey, and then it would be Vicky, and then it would be Carol, and then it's like mania because Conway was so brilliant. And his son is a DJ here in LA on KFI radio, Tim Conway Jr. show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he's on Monday through Friday from 6 o'clock to 10 o'clock. And he's just hilarious because Conway tells these stories about when he was a kid growing up as Tim Conway Jr. and then driving limo, for all these stars when he was broke, and how he got into radio and his dad. Wow. Yeah, I mean, he's worth checking out sometimes. So, but now when you write comedy, let's get into a little bit about your process, because I know
my biggest, if I would know what to
say it again.
We're on a little delay here for some reason. My biggest person that is on my bucket list to meet is Bill Murray. I would probably not know what to say. I would probably pass out. Bill Murray, if you're listening to this, come and visit me in Venice. I would love to meet that guy. I think he's hysterical. And Dave Letterman. That was always that was my dream. Get on the Letterman show before he retired. Well, I missed it.
Yeah, Letterman, I don't know if you've seen.
Ever. I went to I go to Manhattan. I worked there every year I went, which was, I don't know, 15 years ago. I went to the Ed Sullivan Theater.
Oh, really?
And I stood right under the marquee and I looked down. And you people, if you live in New York, I looked down and underneath my feet in the cement was the name Kristi, spelled the way I do, K with an I, which is a lot of people don't spell it that way.
Right.
And I'm like, it's a sign. So I went inside, I went upstairs to the little Italian restaurant, and who was sitting in there but what's his name? His keyboardist.
Oh, Paul Shaffer.
Paul Shaffer is sitting there, and I'm like, oh my gosh. And he ordered a Stella. And I was like, well, I'm gonna have a Stella too. But couldn't have been a nicer guy. And I was just like, oh yeah, that was a great day.
Yeah, I had
my little backpack and all my notes.
I had the pleasure of working with Paul in New York at a gig that was a benefit for Christopher Reeve.
Did?
Yeah, I worked with him. We had a pretty cool gig that night. We had Paul was on B3 organ, and McCoy Tyner, the jazz pianist, was on acoustic piano, and I was on electric piano. And I got there early, and they set up the stage. It was an all-star band, and it was Walter Cronkite kind of hosting, and then it was a benefit for Christopher Reeve when he was in the wheelchair. So this was like a trippy big night for me.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a big trippy night for me, and I'm just sitting there like playing all my stuff on the Fender Rhodes, and Paul Schaefer's organ is on the other side of the room. And he didn't really want me getting much attention, because after he heard about 30 seconds of me playing, he came running over and he said, yeah, that's all good, but I don't do much, but here's what I do. Come here. So he like pulls me off of the bench at my Fender Rhodes and takes me over to his organ. And he turns it up. Oh my
God, that's awesome.
He turns it up as loud as it'll go and starts playing this like really cheesy stuff. And, it's interesting, Kristi, because Paul was never known in the world of keyboard players as being a virtuoso, but you know what he has that nobody has? He has encyclopedic knowledge of like every song.
Really?
Of every song that ever got written. Like you could walk up to Paul and you could say, 1932 Jewish musical, blah, blah, blah. And you go, oh yeah, I got that. I mean, insane.
They did a little, they did one show about Stump Paul, and they couldn't, remember?
Yeah.
They did that for a while.
Yeah.
He wrote, my favorite piece of trivia when I want to stump somebody, my favorite piece of trivia is who wrote the song It's Raining Men? Nobody ever gets it.
I don't get it.
It's Paul Shaffer. He wrote it.
Oh, wow. Okay. Well,
yeah.
That's amazing. I
know something you don't know about music.
Well, I've actually only written one song about men, and it's actually a male bashing song, and it's on my Only in Venice record. It's called I'm Sick of Less Intelligent Men. I think I've played that song for you before.
I have the record. I have the disc. Yeah. I love it.
You have the disc. It's about, I figured I'd try and fit in with the current times and just like take a stab at bashing men in a massive way. And, well, what's on your schedule coming up? Like it's the, middle of September, and I know you're always like, putting on your Instagram, you're either like out on some boat, sailing half naked, or you're, doing this yoga thing, or you're like saying, look, I'm out on tour, so what's going to be the next thing that you're doing that maybe your fans and my fans should know about so they can check you out live?
Well, I will be, I'll be back in Florida in November.
Okay.
I will be in Iowa in December, Penguins Comedy Club, just before Christmas.
Cool.
And a New Year's Eve gig up in Okoboji. Soboji. It's like the Cancun of the Midwest. It's a bunch of lakes up there. It's a lot of fun. And then
Nice.
And then in January, I'll be in Florida shooting this new film that I'm doing a little punch up and helping them write. Actually, it's not a film, it's a mini series. So yeah, staying busy. Busy.
That's so cool.
And the stuff that you see on the boats, wherever I go, you go out and you meet people, and generally they, want to show you around their town. So the last trip I took to Florida, the club owner had this awesome boat. So we all went out and we were going down to the Gulf of Mexico, and yeah, it was great. I got stung by a jellyfish.
Wow.
I got peed on, not in that order, but it was a great trip anyway.
Well, if people want to check out your schedule or your videos or what you're doing, like, how do they reach you? Do you have Instagram
Yes.
and a YouTube? And I'll tell everybody about all your social media stuff before you wrap.
Okay, it's Kristi McHugh comedian, and that's my Instagram. And then my website is KristiMcHugh.com. You can find me on Facebook. It's Kristi with a K and an I. And yeah, follow it up.
Cool, man. Well,
hashtag follow it.
So I'm so happy you're able to.
I got a lot of harmonica songs on there.
Do you want to play? Why don't you play a little before you go? Why don't you give us a little taste of the harmonica?
Like right now?
Yeah. Why not?
Let me see. Where did I put it? Oh, it's right here.
You probably need to back a little bit. Just
That's
a little. Back up just a little so it doesn't blow the mics out.
Is that okay?
Yeah, good. Go ahead.
Do you want me to? What?
Like play a song.
Okay.
Play a song.
Can this be a? Can I do my new COVID song?
Oh, you have a COVID song?
Would you like to hear my new?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes.
Now, Rob Mullins. Now, from what I understand, you are the guy who decides whether these things are Grammy worthy. So I kind of feel that this is my audition for you. All right, ladies and gentlemen. Here we go. So I just want to preface on a bit of a serious note. I think we all know the elephant in the middle of the room, the person that we have kind of been turning a blind eye to during this whole COVID thing, those who we haven't even addressed.
Like Roseanne.
The doctor, what?
Roseanne.
The doctors and nurses on the front lines. So many patients, they got to put them in huts. They think they're the ones who suffer. But what about the sluts? Old people have to quarantine. They're doing the Netflix binge.
Line, please.
Hold on.
Line, please. Line.
But who's taking care of all these whores? Who can't even get on Hinge? No more Tinder, Bumble, or Hinge dates to get them a quick little rub. Now these ladies have to work from home. Thank God for Pornhub. My slutty neighbor banged a guy for TP. She needed a case. He only brought her 4 rolls. that only got him to first base. He said he'd throw in an extra for a blowy. She said, no, I have more class. So then he slipped her the COVID, but at least she had a clean ass. Take your seats, hold your applause. Grammy worthy or what?
And on that note, I got to thank you so much for doing my show.
Oh, Rob, thank you.
I hope we get a chance to hang out again sometime soon, and I'll look for you on social media. It's wonderful to see you online, if not in person. And thanks for carving out an hour tonight so that we could do this. And all the best going into the holidays. And great to see you, Kristi.
You as well.
All right. You take care.
All right. Bye-bye.